What's up, everybody? Tomatoito Boxing Show, the legendary Oscar Valdez, soon to be Hall of Fame, I imagine. You're only a couple fights away from.
I want to. That would be a dream come true. I know we still got a long way. You know, we can't be one of those guys just wins a couple of fights and things we're done. You know, and I've never been a fighter that just wants to win a couple of fights. You know, we shoot for the stars, so that's our biggest dream.
Your last fight was Ricky Medina out in Nogales. It was like a homecoming party for you, right? And now you're involved with the promotion for Casino del Sol this coming Saturday. Young fighter Jose Ramirez is actually up in the ring right now. We can see him there in the background. Talk to me about this, because you're starting to venture into business. This is like a career after your career.
It's career after a career, you know. Even though this event is mostly my sister who's doing it, Brianna Valdez. She's always been the one behind everything. You know, I've always considered her to be a very smart person. She's always the one doing these type of events. And I think it's going to be a great night of boxing here, especially for the people here in Tucson. Tucson has always been a place where people love boxing. Ever since when I was a little kid in the 90s, we have fighters like Nito Bravo, David Destroyer Lopez, who will come here and fill up the arenas and all the casinos here in Tucson. So now I think the new era's coming. And I think a young, hungry fighter like Jose Ramirez is an up-and-coming rising star. So I think he's got a lot of potential to become that. So this is going to be a big test for him.
It's great that you mentioned that, because the first time I met you, I was telling you how Tucson has been clamoring for their own champion, and because you had a background here in Tucson, attended school and so forth, but you're Nogales through and through, right? Tucson was always clamoring to you. Now Saturday we get to see the up-and-coming generation, right?
Yeah, like I said, I met Jose Ramirez back like in 2020. You know, as a young, coming, hungry fighter. I sparred him. He was a bit small, so we went light. And over the years, I've seen him grow. I've seen him improve a lot. And all of a sudden, I said, "Wow, he's a talented kid. I see a lot of future in him because he's a brave fighter. You know, he's one of those old school fighters that's not scared of losing his undefeated record, and that's why he's got a couple of defeats, because he's an old school fighter. He's got that mentality and hunger to come back and give the fans what they want, which is good fights. And I see a good future for him. So this Saturday is going to be a good test for him, and for people to come and join and watch this upcoming star.
It's very interesting, the progression of Jose Ramirez from when I first got to meet him several years ago. He's starting to develop different attributes, different punches, speed, and you're seeing the growth, not letting those losses define him, just like you said. And those losses came very early in his career, so now he's been on an insane streak right now that's getting him into that right position.
Exactly, and you know, boxing got very popular to take care of that undefeated record. It is nonsense, because the great fighters, the great champions like Muhammad Ali, Julio Cesar Chavez, Sugar Ray Leonard, all these fighters had losses, and it didn't change the fact that they were great fighters. And Jose Ramirez is going to be one of those cases where, you know, he had a couple of losses early in his career, but his mindset, his mentality just has only grown better, and he's gotten better at technique, and he's grown as a fighter. I think it's helped him a lot that he's been in stables like with myself and someone like Canelo, and all over the place, just learning the art of boxing. And I think this Saturday he's going to show what he's capable of doing.
You're absolutely right. Not just where he's at, but where he's at in as far as his growth. It's not just where he's at, because his career is young, but he's fighting almost like a veteran.
Yeah,
the way he's approaching the sport because of the experience.
You got great examples. I'll put a name out there. Orlando City Salio. The guy had like 13 losses before he became a world champion. You know, Jose Ramirez just has a couple of losses, and he's a great fighter, and he's beating undefeated fighters. You know, he's one of those fighters that are very tricky, because you might look at his record and say, "Oh, it might be an easy fight," and they throw in prospects towards him, and he's beating those prospects. So he's proving people wrong, and I think he's going to be one of those cases. I really got a lot of faith on Jose Ramirez to be a big rising star.
So it's going to be interesting on Saturday. I'm going to jump over to your career. I know you're going to be tied up, and there's a bunch of people that want to meet and greet today, right? Which is the reason we're here. One of the reasons. As far as your career, one thing that people admire you and why people are so drawn to your career is because you've never let those losses define you, just like you were talking right now. You have the losses, you're daring to be great every time, taking those big challenges, and there's many more challenges. One of them being Christopher Diaz that keeps going all over social media, wanting to make that fight with you, Pitufo Diaz.
Pitufo. I mean,
any reality to that coming to fruition?
This is all social media talk, you know. The reason why I don't answer back is because there's no contract yet, and there's no negotiations. In that case, I would want to fight Manny Pacquiao. I would want to fight Oshaquie Foster. I would want to fight Lomachenko. Of course, we want these fights, but it has to be a promoter behind it. So there's no promoter behind that fight. So I would just be talking nonsense on social media. And I've never been a social media guy. I've never been a Twitter finger guy. I've never been a guy who talks. If we're gonna talk front face to face and let our hands do the talking.
Keyboard warriors, right?
Yeah. And you know, and I got a little bit of respect for Pitufo Diaz. I mean, I definitely want to fight. Let that be mistaken. I really want that fight, but it has to be a promoter behind it. It has to be a promoter that wants that fight, who's calling for it. And till this day, there hasn't been a promoter that picks up their hand and says, "We want that fight." But till then, you know, I'm still working. I'm still working out. I'm still staying ready. There's talks and negotiations towards my next fight, but since the World Cup's on right now, there's no fights coming up. So, you know, as a fighter, as a professional fighter, when I take my job very seriously, I'm always staying busy. I stay busy inside the ring every single day. So once we get that phone call, I'll be 60% ready, and then we'll get the other 40% down in camp. But for right now, you know, we want to get back in the game. We shoot for the stars, and I want to get that one last to get for the world title. If we can't get it, then I think it'll be time to hang up the gloves, because if we're not looking for shoot for the stars or fight for the best, then what are we doing? That's always been my mentality. I don't want to be, you know, fighting little cards and just maybe being a stepping stone for other fighters. You want to shoot for the best and go for on. So for right now, you know, we're staying ready for whatever calls. We'll be ready.
It's perfect that I get to hear this from you. I actually interviewed Pitufo Diaz a couple times, and he keeps mentioning you. He's like, I need that fight. Puerto Rico, Mexico would be amazing. So and he's a gentleman of boxing, right? He's very respectful and so forth. So that one we could discard for now. Sugar Nunez is another rumor that's being popped out there.
These are all social media talks.
Okay.
I mean, these are just people on social media saying this will be a good fight, and I agree. I think someone with Pitufo Diaz, you know, the Puerto Rico Mexico rivalry is always going to be there. So I think that could be very interesting, and I think the fans might like it. I can honestly say that it will be a good fight, and I see myself victorious in that fight, just because of my mindset has always been like that. But you know, we can get a world title fight or shoot for the rankings and get closer for the world title. That would be my pick. But you know, if any promoter out there wants that fight and make that fight happen, I will gladly take it in a heartbeat.
Let's talk about that, because you're a free agent now. You parted ways with Top Rank, I believe, earlier this year, but you had very good ties with Top Rank, and Oshaquie Foster is still there. Since we're talking about shooting for the top, that's one of the ones.
Shooting for the top, and Oshaquie Foster will be a great fight. I know my last fight for the world title, we lost it against Vaquero Navarrete, but that does not define a fighter. You know, boxing is about styles. And someone like Oshaquie Foster, I know he wants that fight. He's personally said it before. Since we fought in the amateurs, I came out victorious in the amateurs, and I think he's always wanted that revenge. He wants to fight now as a professional, and I agree, because in the amateurs, that's a completely different ball game. As a professional, it's different. So that will be his opportunity to try to get his revenge, and he said this before. This is not me saying it. So I think, you know, we're gentlemen outside the ring, but inside the ring, we're going to try to come out victorious. So I would definitely want that fight, because it will be a chance to fight for the world title. So that's definitely
the amateurs. If I remember right, this was in the lead up to the London Olympics?
Exactly.
Wow. So this is dating back to, 14 years, I think,
yeah,
right?
it was a shot to become an Olympian. And
there's history there.
Yeah, so we got history behind it, and I think he really wants it, because he wants to get his revenge as a fighter. But if he still wants it, man, I'm right here.
I love how open you are, because now we're discarding the rumor mills from the internet, right? The other ones that have popped up, Eddie Hearn with Matchroom, Kasachi, and Sufa Boxing is the other.
Like I said, I'm all ears right now. You know, if we get that Pitufo fight, I'll gladly take it in a heartbeat. But if we have an opportunity to fight for the world title, well, that's a no-brainer for me. It is not about the money for me. It's about legacy. It's about looking for those titles and fighting for something that really matters.
I'll throw a curveball at you. It's been heavily announced that Canelo's going to have a Mexico versus the world event in September. Obviously, it could be rumor mill. Maybe they're working it behind the scenes. You would know that, but you have very good ties with Eddie, a former coach of yours, and with Canelo. Any chance that we could see you there? And since Loma came back,
I mean, if I get the invitation, like I said,
Oscar and Loma would be huge.
Look, I've always been a type of fighter that's never said no. You know, a couple of my friends and family members and people around me have said, "Why did you take that fight? That was a risky fight. Why you didn't win nothing? You should have avoided this fighter." But I've always said yes to all the fighters, and why not? You know, if Canelo does this in Mexico against the world, you know, I'm right here. You know, I'm right here. I'm not done yet. I got a couple of fights more in me to shoot for the world title, and once I'm done, I'm going to be done for real. But right now, we still got gas in the tank.
I mean, I'm hearing you talk right now, and that hunger's still there. Like, you're ready.
Oh, yeah.
You're ready to answer the call.
We want to be in there. We just want opportunities. That's all we want. That's all opportunity, and let's go on from there.
I asked your dad the following question a while back, and he laughed. He didn't know how to answer it. You're the best person to ask this. Is there any way that we see you walk into the ring with Steve leading you?
No, there's no way. There's no way. First of all, Steve is very aggressive, so we don't want Steve around there.
Perfect. Oscar, it's a pleasure speaking with you, catching up with you. I can't wait. I can't wait. And God willing, we'll see you active. What, 2026?
Yeah, it has to be this year. You know, we got no time to waste, and we're just waiting on that phone call. That's all we want. We want an opportunity and give the fans what they want. You know, I promise all my fans that every time I step in the ring, I will always give my 100%. Not just to win, but to give the fans what they want, which is an interesting fight.
I love it. You just put to rest all kinds of rumor mills that have been floating around, and you're basically sending the call out to anybody and everybody for a meaningful fight, something that adds meaning to your resume, right? To your already amazing resume. Perfect. Oscar Valdez, what a pleasure it is. Toma Todito Boxing Show, everybody, with the legendary Valdez.